welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is February 16th, 2025, and is my weekly update number 98. Can't believe I've almost done this 100 times. So, let's see, what have I done this week? Well, I finished that quilt top behind me, which is a 3-yard quilt. I finished my crocheted iguana. I'm throwing my pin at me. And I also finished my cross stitch. And a few other things. But let's talk about the most important news that happened this week with quilting and, well, not say quilting, but just crafting and fabric. And that's Joann's. Joann's is closing 500 stores. Now, I have probably about 2 Joann's stores that are kind of close, and then other ones are a little bit farther away. But they're leaving, I think, about 15 stores open in Ohio, but they're all over an hour away from me. So I'm a little sad about that. Now, Joann's fabrics. Now, when I first started sewing, I bought all kinds of fabrics from Joann's for apparel, and then I eventually went over to quilting, which I started with Joann's. Now I don't buy a lot of fabric from Joann's just because I don't think it holds up well. I mean, I'll use it sometimes, just depending on what I'm making. But what I do buy from Joann's is I usually buy like some Kona cottons. I'll buy pillow forms, polyfill. I buy my Smet sewing machine needles. If I need pens, yarn, all those other things. So they're going away. So I'm a little bit sad about that. Oh well. So yesterday I started their liquidation sales. My husband went to Joann's. Well, my husband and I, we were planning on going out for dinner, and then we just stopped by Joann's, and you know, everything was about 20% off. There were some things that were off more. I know, like the zippers were off 40%, but I don't really need any zippers. But I'm a little bit sad about Joann's. But it is what it is. You know, I remember when I was a kid, we had Joann's, Piece Goods, and Hancock's. Those went away. But then we also had Walmart that sold some fabric, and Hobby Lobby. Well, Walmart's not really selling fabric by the yard anymore. You can still buy those little pieces that are like a yard by something. All the fabric stores are going away. But there's still quilt shops. So there's that. And I do know, I do have a quilt shop that's not too far for me. So there's that. But anyway, I finished this behind me. Now, this is a 3-yard quilt. Now, this was part of my 2024 advent calendar that my husband had picked out for me, which he picked out basically a group of 3 fabrics that I opened 1 yard at a time. So after 3 days, I'd have like a kit to make a 3-yard quilt. So I think you did a good job. Now that quilt came from the Quilt in a Jiffy book by Fabric Cafe. All these 3-yard quilts, and it was the Ashford Square quilt right there. Now, when I started doing my advent calendar, I had made it a playlist then so you could see all those. And plus, I'm also, as I make these videos of me making these quilts, I'm also going to put those in that playlist, which is, I think it's my 2024 advent calendar. And I'm doing one of these a month. So last week I did this one. So next month, I'm going to be using my fabrics from day 7, 8, and 9. And I'll be making a quilt from this 1 block 3-yard quilts from Fabric Cafe, and it will be this one right here, which is Evening Stroll. So that will be March's 3-yard quilt. So I do think he did a good job. It came all together well. Let me see if I can go up a little bit on the camera. There we go, moving up. All right, now I'm going to bring that camera back down. There we go. So, that was that. Now, this coming week, I plan to work some more on this Sew in Love block of the month by Dita Sitar. So this came out a couple years ago. But I'm going to be working on this 1 block a month. So last time I made the, what is it called? The Stardust blocks. Let's see here. And there was 4 of those. That was last month. So this week I'm going to be making the Together Forever blocks. And I will be doing videos on those and posting them once they're up. Or at least that's my plan. So those are what those blocks are going to look like. I think 8 of these. But that's what it's going to look like. Now also for this coming week, I really want to get something quilted on the long arm. It's been a while since I've been able to do that. And I want to quilt my Rose and Bloom. We'll see if it happens or not. So let's see what else I've managed to complete this week. Oh yes, and I got my fabrics picked out for this month's block for that Sew in Love series. So I worked on this quilt called Blue Diamonds. This is what it looks like. And of course my fabrics are completely different. And this comes from the Quilt by Color book, Scrappy Quilts with a Plan by Susan Aki. So the actual blocks, this is what they're looking like. These are the blocks. Now they are just pinned together in that 9 patch, so I still have to make those seams and then those blocks will be done. So those are what my blocks are looking like. And then we have cornerstones and sashing that goes around those blocks. So those are going to be my cornerstones. And then I got 2 different sashings, depending on where it is. So this is one of the sashings. Now those are just pinned together, so that's why looks like I've cut my points off. But there's one of the sashings. And there's the other sashing, and again, those are just pinned together. So after I finish sewing all that, I can start assembling that center of that quilt top and then start adding all the borders. So I worked on that. And let's see what else. I worked some more on this Buzz. Now this is from a Sew Sampler box a long time ago. There's the center of that. It's coming along. Again, these got pins going on right there along those horizontal rows. So that's where I am on that. They're also buried in there, but I have finished like this piece on each side, and then I have a top and a bottom that are pinned together, ready to go. And then there's no borders on this one. Oh, I guess actually there is. Never mind. There's that, just that plain white border. Just a little one though. So that one's getting close to done. Okay, and then I worked on 2 other quilts. Let me pull them out. And then I worked some more on Swan Island by Elizabeth Hartman. Now these got a lot of pieces still left to construct, but I can show you where I am so far. So those are some of the wings. Now this is going to be for the black swan, and this is for some of the white swans. So I've got those. And then we've got some more other pieces in here that will be stitch and flip. So this little section has a lot to go because after I sew that on, as you can see, it's pinned. Sew and press that out. Then I have to add these little squares, which will be another stitch and flip and so on. So there's still a lot to go on with that. Let's see. Worked on that. And after that pieces, I've got this, which will be another stitch and flip, and I've got these that are still ready to go. But these are probably the most recognizable pieces with the swans. And then I've got some pieces down under there, which is going to be the bottom of the swans that are like those first ones I showed you with the feathers. So I am making progress. It is coming along. Okay, so I worked on that, and then I only worked on one other project this week. And this is another sew sampler box from a while ago called Enchanted. There we go. So basically, I almost got the blocks sewn. I've got one more seam on all these blocks. There we go. Here's where I've got it pinned. And then this will flip open like that. And then these blocks will be on points. And I can start assemble them together in rows. And then sew the rows together and have a quilt top. So I worked on that. All right, let me put some of this up and then I'll show you my cross stitch and crochet. So I have been working on the Simply Sayings from Little Stitch Girl, and now I am on to October because I finished January through September already. This is October's what it looks like, and I just finished this morning. I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers. So I finished that. And what I'm doing is I'm finishing up there. That is my February's right up there. Oop, wrong way, right there. Up there. So now I also need to take and foolish finish my Marches since Valentine's Day is over. So I can put that. Maybe I'll do that this week too. So we can do that. But also, sitting on that shelf, there's a little, that's why I put it on the shelf. Let me show you what's sitting on that shelf. So I had finished those cross stitches and put that on that little shelf because then I could put little like knickknacks and doohickeys up there that needed to be. So I put this up there. Well, this just was something my son had made with the 3D printer. So I kind of put that up there. And then my husband made this little bear for me. So I had those sitting up there. So I put them back up there on my little shelf. So now my crocheted animals, my amigurumi things. So I'm still trying to use that green yarn that I had made that sleeved shawl with. So I've been making these crocheted animals to use the green. So the latest thing I was working on was the iguana, which I finished. There's my iguana. It's all done. My hand was covering up one of its legs, so it looked like it only had 3, but it's got 4 legs. There's the iguana. So I started making the snake. Actually, it's calling it a viper. It's Victor the Viper. I started making it a snake. To use some more of the green yarn, which I haven't gotten very far. This is literally where I'm at. That's the head that needs stuff. Now, this snake isn't my favorite. When a long time ago, when my husband's grandmother was around, she used to knit these snakes with her leftover yarns, and she had given us one, which we then later gave to our daughter. It was very girly. It had like eyelashes and that kind of stuff on it. So my husband had asked me at that time if I thought I could do one. I'm like, well, I'll do a crochet version. So I had made this big crochet version of snake. I have no idea where these things are now. And that one went to my son. And it just reminded me as I'm making this big, long crocheted snake that I have. When he was in 3rd grade, they have like a wax museum type thing where they have some person from history that they have to talk about. And he had Steve Irwin. So he took the big crocheted snake in. I wrapped it around his neck and he did his presentation with that for a snake. So, I don't know, it just reminded me of that. Now, I like that snake I did much better than that one in there. But that's okay. I'm just using yarn. But since I've been making these things, trying to use that yarn. My husband decided to buy me some more books. So we have this. Yeah. Now my husband and daughter are into like these fantasy, sci-fi, mythology type things. I'm not. I mean, to me, if it has to be more reality based for me to get into it and understand it. I guess that's above my level of comprehension. I don't know. But yeah, so now they've been deciding which one of these they want me to make next. Although I do think that's supposed to be Medusa. Looks kind of cool. But I was like, isn't Medusa supposed to be like a person instead of like a fish? And they told me no. So what do I know? So he bought me that for Valentine's Day, and also this little Pokemon crochet book. I don't know. So it looks like I have some more amigurumi to make in my future. We'll see. So the last thing I made this week, or I worked on this week, is my diamond painting. Let me get it. Okay, so here's a picture of what it's supposed to look like. The Amsterdam Canal. And this is what it's looking like. I think last week I was up in here. Now I'm down into here. Still working through here. Not finished with that yet. All right. So that is everything that I've worked on and completed this week. And we got more snow today. All right. Till next time. Bye.